Millionaire brings his maid to his ex-fiancée's wedding. The room fell silent. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. The elevator doors glide open on the top floor of a glass tower overlooking the city, and Daniel Wright steps out alone. He is 38, a self-made millionaire, and tonight his tailored suit feels heavier than usual. The hallway smells faintly of polished wood and rain carried in from the terrace. Somewhere below, traffic hums like a distant tide. Daniel pauses at the window. His phone buzzes once. A calendar alert flashes across the screen. Saturday, 6 p.m. Wedding ceremony. Location confirmed. The name beneath it is one he has tried not to read all week. His ex-fiancée is getting married. He exhales slowly, jaw tightening. This wedding is not just a celebration. It is a stage. His parents will be there. His board members will be there. Investors who still whisper that he lost focus after the breakup will be there. And the bride herself, smiling in white, will be watching to see if he arrives alone. Daniel turns away from the glass and walks down the corridor to his penthouse. Inside, the space is immaculate, expensive, and quiet. Too quiet. He loosens his tie, then stops when he hears soft footsteps behind him. "Sir, your jacket," a woman says gently. He turns. Elena Morales stands a few steps back, holding his coat over one arm. She is 27, his live-in housekeeper for the past year. Her dark hair is neatly tied back. Her uniform is simple. Her posture is careful, as if she is always afraid of taking up too much space. "Thank you," Daniel says, distracted. He takes the jacket, then hesitates. Something in his own reflection on the marble wall irritates him. He looks tired, exposed. "Elena," he says suddenly. She lifts her eyes. "Yes, sir." "Sit down for a moment," he says, gesturing toward the sofa. "Please." She hesitates, then sits on the edge of the cushion, hands folded tightly in her lap. Daniel remains standing. He walks once across the room, then back. Finally, he stops in front of her. "I need a favor," he says. Her shoulders stiffen. "If it is about extra hours, I can adjust my schedule." "No," he says. "It is not that." He reaches into his pocket and pulls out an ivory envelope. He does not hand it to her yet. "This Saturday," he says carefully, "I have to attend a wedding." She nods. "I can prepare your suit and arrange transportation." "I need more than that," Daniel says. He meets her eyes. "I need someone to attend with me." Silence settles between them. Elena blinks once. "Attend? With you?" "Yes," he says. "As my partner." Her breath catches. "Sir, I do not understand." He opens the envelope and places its contents on the table. Inside is a printed contract. Neat. Formal. Already signed at the bottom with his name. "This is a temporary arrangement," Daniel says, voice controlled. "2 public appearances, 1 wedding, 1 charity gala. You will be introduced as my companion. Nothing more." Elena looks down at the paper, then back up at him. "You want me to pretend?" "Yes." Her fingers curl into her skirt. "I am your maid. You are a woman who is intelligent, composed, and trustworthy," Daniel says. "And you are someone no one would expect." The words hang there, sharp and uncomfortable. She swallows. "People will talk." "They already do," he says quietly. Elena studies the contract without touching it. "Why me?" "Minus." Daniel's gaze shifts, just for a second. "Because I cannot walk into that room alone," he says. "And because I refuse to borrow someone else's pride for the night." She lifts her chin slightly. "And what do I receive in return?" He slides a second page forward, numbers printed cleanly at the top. Her eyes widen despite herself. "That amount covers your mother's medical bills," Daniel says, "and 6 months of rent, wherever you choose to live after this is over." "After this is over." Elena's chest tightens. She thinks of the pharmacy receipts tucked into her drawer, the late-night phone calls, the word delayed stamped across insurance forms, and the rules, she says quietly. Daniel nods, as if relieved by the question. There are boundaries, he says. We do not touch unless required in public. We do not share a room. We do not discuss this arrangement with anyone. And when it ends cleanly. She looks at him. No feelings. He allows himself a thin smile. Exactly. Elena takes a long breath. Outside, thunder rolls faintly over the city. If I say no, she asks. I will understand, Daniel says. She looks again at the contract, at the number, at the signature already there. Then she straightens her back. If I say yes, she says, I will not be humiliated. Daniel meets her gaze, something firm settling in his eyes. I give you my word. The room feels smaller suddenly, charged with something neither of them names. Elena reaches out and places her hand on the paper. Then, she says, voice steady, I will attend the wedding with you. Daniel exhales, slow and controlled, as if he has just crossed a line he cannot step back over. Thank you, he says. Neither of them smiles. Outside, the city continues its restless motion, unaware that a contract has just been signed that will turn a wedding into a reckoning, and a simple agreement into something far more dangerous than either of them expects. Daniel does not sleep much that night. The city outside his penthouse fades from silver to gray as dawn creeps in, but his mind keeps replaying the same image over and over again. Elena standing in front of him, calm, steady, her hand resting on the contract as if she understood the weight of it better than he did. By 7 in the morning, Daniel is already dressed, coffee untouched on the counter. He scrolls through emails without reading them, then locks his phone and leans back against the kitchen island. For the first time in years, a deal he initiated does not feel clean. He tells himself it is necessary. This wedding is not about heartbreak. It is about optics. His ex-fiancée, Claire, comes from a family that measures worth in bloodlines and social circles. When she left him, she did not just leave a man. She walked away from uncertainty, from risk, from a future that did not guarantee applause. Daniel had built his company from nothing, but in her world, money without pedigree was never enough. He straightens, jaw tightening. He will not walk into that room alone. Not again. Across town, Elena stands in a narrow kitchen, staring at a stack of medical bills spread across the table. The morning light coming through the window is pale and unforgiving, making the red stamps on the envelopes impossible to ignore. Past due, pending review, balance remaining. She presses her lips together and gathers the papers into a neat pile, as if organization alone might soften their meaning. Her phone vibrates in her hand. Another message from the clinic, another reminder she does not need. Elena sits down slowly, the chair creaking beneath her. For a long moment, she does nothing but breathe. She thinks of Daniel's voice the night before, controlled, precise, almost distant. And yet, when he promised she would not be humiliated, there was something in his eyes that had surprised her. Not arrogance, not pity. Resolve. She shakes her head, trying to push the memory away. This is work. Temporary. She will play a role, collect what she needs, and walk away. Still, her stomach tightens at the thought of that wedding, of strangers looking at her and deciding who she is before she ever opens her mouth. She reaches for her jacket and stands. That afternoon, Daniel waits in his study, posture straight, hands folded behind his back. When Elena enters, she notices immediately that the room feels different. Less like a home, more like a boardroom. There are things you need to know, he says. Without preamble, she nods. I assumed there would be. He gestures toward a chair across from his desk. This time, she sits more firmly, spine straight. My ex-fiancée's family values appearances above all else, Daniel continues. They will test you. Subtly. Sometimes not so subtly. Elena lifts her chin. Test me how? Ah. He hesitates, then answers honestly. They will question your background, your education, your place beside me. She absorbs this in silence. You do not need to impress them, Daniel adds. You only need to remain composed. If anything feels uncomfortable, you look at me, and I will handle it. And if they insult me? She asks quietly. His eyes meet hers. Then they insult me. Right. Something shifts between them, almost imperceptible. He slides a small folder across the desk. Inside are details about the venue, the schedule, and her role. Simple, clean, no embellishment. You will be introduced as Elena Morales, he says. No invented backstory. No lies beyond the fact that we are together. She studies the page. Why not make me someone else? Because lies fracture, Daniel replies. Truth holds longer. She nods slowly. There is a pause. Then Elena looks up. And after the wedding, he says, you leave if you want to. No pressure, no expectations. She considers that. Freedom offered so plainly, almost feels like another test. I will stay for the gala, she says. I agreed to both. Daniel inclines his head. I appreciate that. As she stands to leave, Elena hesitates. Daniel, yes, you said this was about appearances, she says. But you also said you refused to borrow someone else's pride. He does not answer immediately. Both things can be true, he says finally. She studies him for a long moment, then nods and turns toward the door. When it closes behind her, Daniel exhales slowly, hand pressing against the edge of his desk. This arrangement was supposed to be simple, contained, yet somehow, it already feels like the most dangerous decision he has made in years, and neither of them knows that the stakes they think they are managing are only the surface of what is coming next. By Friday evening, the contract no longer feels like paper. It sits between Daniel and Elena on the dining table, illuminated by a single warm light above them. Outside, rain taps softly against the windows, steady and patient, as if giving them time to think. Daniel reads each clause aloud, his voice calm, deliberate. This is familiar territory for him. Negotiations, boundaries, control. This arrangement is limited to 2 public appearances, he says, the wedding tomorrow evening and the charity gala next week. Elena listens without interrupting, hands folded in her lap. Her face is composed, but her eyes do not leave the page. No physical intimacy, Daniel continues. That includes private spaces. Public gestures only when necessary. 1. She nods once. No shared bedroom, he adds. You will have a separate room at the venue hotel. Understood, Elena says. He pauses, then looks up at her. At any point, if you want to withdraw, you say so. No questions asked. Her gaze flickers. And the payment? Daniel slides a document toward her. Half transferred tonight. The remainder after the gala. She studies the numbers carefully. They are exactly as promised. Enough to clear the hospital balance. Enough to breathe again. And confidentiality, he says. This does not exist outside of us. Elena picks up the pen resting beside the contract but does not sign yet. I have one condition, she says. Daniel stills. Go on. She meets his eyes. You do not speak for me. Not to your family. Not to your friends. Not to anyone. He considers this. Even if they question you. Especially then, she says quietly. I can answer for myself. Something like respect flickers across his expression. Agreed, he says. She signs. The sound of the pen against paper is soft, final. Daniel signs beneath her name, then closes the folder. For a moment, neither of them moves. This does not change how I treat you in this house, Daniel says at last. You are not obligated to anything beyond what is written. Elena stands. Nor are you. Their eyes meet again. This time, the silence feels heavier. Not uncomfortable, just full. The next morning, the transformation begins. Elena stands in front of the mirror in a private fitting room, staring at a woman she almost does not recognize. The dress is simple but elegant, dark blue, tailored to her frame. It does not shout. It does not beg for attention. It holds. She smooths the fabric over her waist, heart beating faster than she expects. When she steps out, Daniel looks up from his phone. He does not smile. He does not compliment her. He simply nods once. That will do, he says. She exhales, unsure why that feels like relief. They practice introductions, hand placement, walking side by side, the choreography of appearing natural under scrutiny. When I offer my arm, Daniel explains, you take it. If you feel overwhelmed, squeeze once. I will redirect. And if I do not want to be redirected, Elena asks, then I will follow, he says. She studies him, then nods. That evening, as the sun dips low over the city, a car waits at the curb. Elena hesitates before stepping inside. The door is open. The path is clear. Still, something holds her back. This is only for tonight, she says, more to herself than to him. Yes, Daniel replies. She takes his arm. The car door closes with a muted sound that feels like the seal on something irreversible. As they pull away, the city lights begin to glow, unaware that a contract born of necessity is already being tested by something neither of them has planned for. Tomorrow, the world will see them as something they are not, and that illusion will demand more than either of them expects to give. Saturday arrives faster than either of them expects. By mid-morning, Elena is standing in a quiet room overlooking the hotel courtyard, sunlight spilling across the carpet. A garment bag hangs from the closet door. Her shoes are lined neatly beneath it. Everything is prepared, precise, as if order alone can keep uncertainty at bay. A stylist adjusts the fall of her hair while explaining nothing in particular. Elena listens anyway, nodding, absorbing the rhythm of a world she has only ever observed from the edges. When the mirror is finally turned toward her, she barely recognizes herself, not because she looks richer, because she looks composed. She straightens her shoulders, testing the posture. The woman looking back does not apologize for taking up space. Downstairs, Daniel waits in a private lounge reserved for the wedding party guests. He reviews the seating arrangement once more, then folds the paper and slips it into his jacket pocket. His phone buzzes with a message from his assistant confirming arrival times. Everything is on schedule. Everything except the unfamiliar tension settling in his chest. When Elena enters the room, conversation pauses for a fraction of a second. It is subtle, but Daniel notices. He always notices. She walks toward him with measured steps, not hurried, not hesitant. The dress moves with her, not against her. When she stops beside him, she does not look down. "You are early," he says. "I did not want to rush," she replies. He nods. "Good." They practice one final time. Introductions, names, the cadence of small talk. Daniel plays the part of attentive partner. Elena, the role of composed companion. Their movements are restrained, careful, almost formal. "Remember," Daniel says quietly, "you do not need to perform." "I am not performing," Elena replies. "I am observing." Something about that makes him pause. The rehearsal reception begins in the late afternoon. Guests arrive in clusters, laughter echoing across the terrace. Glasses clink, names are exchanged, eyes assess. Elena feels the weight of it immediately. The glances that linger a second too long. The smiles that do not quite reach the eyes. She senses the questions forming before they are asked. Who is she? Where did she come from? Why her? Daniel introduces her simply. "This is Elena." No title. No explanation. At first, conversation skirts around her, flowing toward Daniel instead. Business, investments, familiar ground. Elena listens, taking mental notes. When someone finally turns to her, the question is polite but sharp. "And what do you do, Elena?" She meets the woman's gaze evenly. "I work in property management." It is not a lie. It is not the whole truth either. The woman blinks, recalibrates, then nods. "That must be interesting." Too resent. "It teaches you how people treat spaces they believe belong to them," Elena says calmly. The woman smiles, uncertain how to respond. Daniel feels it then. The shift. Small, but undeniable. As the afternoon unfolds, Elena begins to find her footing. She listens more than she speaks. When she does speak, it is with intention. She does not try to impress. She does not retreat. At one point, a relative of the bride laughs softly and says, "You are very quiet." Daniel usually prefers someone more polished. The words are light, almost playful. Elena smiles, unoffended. "He did not choose me for decoration." Silence follows. Then, a polite laugh. The conversation moves on. Daniel says nothing. He does not need to. Later, when they step away from the crowd, Elena exhales slowly. "You handled that well," he says. "I handled myself," she replies. He inclines his head. "Yes." By the time evening settles in, something has changed. Not in the room, in them. They move together more naturally now. Not rehearsed, not stiff. When Daniel offers his arm, Elena takes it without thinking. When she speaks, he listens. There are still rules, still lines that neither of them crosses. But beneath the surface, something steadier is forming. Not affection, understanding. As they prepare to leave, Elena glances back once at the terrace, the lights glowing softly against the darkening sky. Tomorrow, The wedding will test more than their arrangement, and she knows, with quiet certainty, that pretending will no longer be the hardest part. The wedding begins just before sunset. White chairs line the garden lawn, facing an arch of flowers that looks effortless only because nothing about it is. Soft music drifts through the air as guests settle into their seats, programs folded neatly in their hands, conversations lower to murmurs. Cameras are ready. Daniel and Elena arrive together. The moment they step into view, heads turn. Not dramatically, not openly, but enough for Elena to feel it along her spine. The subtle recalculation, the curiosity sharpened by disbelief. Daniel's posture does not change. He moves with quiet confidence, offering his arm. Elena takes it, her grip light but steady. They walk down the aisle reserved for family and close guests, passing familiar faces. Some nod politely, others stare a moment too long. Elena keeps her gaze forward, expression calm. Then she sees her. Claire stands near the front, radiant in white, bouquet resting easily in her hands. She laughs at something her fiancé says, then looks up. Her smile freezes. For a brief second, the world narrows to that single glance. Recognition flashes, followed by disbelief. Then something sharper. Assessment. Daniel feels Elena's fingers tighten once around his arm. "I am fine," she murmurs. He nods, trusting her. During the ceremony, Elena listens more than she watches. The vows blur together, words about forever spoken with practiced certainty. Applause rises. Cameras click. The moment passes. At the reception, the atmosphere shifts. Music plays. Glasses are raised. The crowd loosens. And with it, the questions begin. A man approaches Daniel, smile fixed. "I did not realize you were bringing someone," he says, eyes sliding toward Elena. "We heard you preferred to keep your private life private." "It's Daniel answers smoothly. "I value discretion." The man nods, then turns to Elena. "And you are?" "Elena," she says simply. No explanation follows. Later, a woman from Claire's family joins them, her tone light, almost kind. "You must feel very brave," she says, "being here tonight." Elena meets her gaze. "Why would that be?" The woman laughs softly. "Well, history." Elena considers this. "History belongs to the people who lived it," she replies. "I am here in the present. Two are." The woman blinks, then smiles again. Less certain this time. Daniel watches it unfold without intervening. He does not need to. The true test comes during dinner. As plates are cleared and wine is poured, Claire approaches their table. Her expression is composed, perfect, the kind that has been practiced in mirrors. "Daniel," she says, "it has been a long time. Congratulations," he replies. Her gaze shifts to Elena. "And you are?" "Elena Morales," Elena says, standing. Her voice is calm, respectful. Claire's smile tightens. "Morales," she repeats. "I do not believe we have met." "No," Elena says, "we have not." "Well," a pause settles between them, heavy and deliberate. "I hope you are enjoying the wedding," Claire says at last. "It means a great deal to my family." "It is beautiful," Elena replies. "You look very happy." The words are sincere. That is what unsettles Claire most. She studies Elena for a moment, then nods. "Enjoy your evening." When she leaves, the table exhales collectively. Daniel turns to Elena. "Are you all right?" "Yes," she says. "That was expected." He watches her carefully. "You did not have to stand. I wanted to," she replies. Around them, conversations resume, but something has shifted. The whispers change tone, less dismissive, more curious. Elena sits back down, smoothing her napkin. She feels no triumph, no fear, only certainty. She came here to play a role. Instead, she passed a test she never agreed to take, and the room knows it. The reception winds down slowly, as if the night itself is reluctant to let go. Music softens. Conversations fragment into smaller circles. The garden lights glow warmer now, casting long shadows across the lawn. Daniel notices Elena's shoulders relax for the first time since they arrived. "Do you want some air?" he asks quietly. She nods. They step away from the crowd and follow a stone path toward the far edge of the property, where the noise fades into a distant murmur. The city lights are visible beyond the trees, steady and indifferent. Neither of them speaks at first. Elena exhales slowly, as if she has been holding her breath for hours. That went better than I expected. You were composed, Daniel says. More than most people in that room. She lets out a soft breath that might almost be a laugh. That room measures people before it listens to them. Yes, he says. It always has. They stop near a low wall overlooking the garden. Elena rests her hands on the stone, cool beneath her palms. I did not feel small, she says after a moment. I thought I would, but I did not. Daniel watches her profile in the dim light. You were never small. She turns to look at him, surprised by the certainty in his voice. That is easy to say, she replies. You have never been ignored in a room. He considers this. Ignored? No, he says. Doubted? Yes. Dismissed? Often. Just not to my face. She studies him more closely now. Is that why this matters to you? He looks away, gaze settling on the distant lights. When Claire left, she told me she needed someone predictable, he says. Someone who fit the picture her family already had. And you did not, Elena says. I was an inconvenience dressed as ambition, he replies. She did not want to keep explaining me. The honesty hangs between them, quiet and unguarded. I am not here to explain you, Elena says softly. He looks back at her. I know. For a moment, the rules of their arrangement feel distant, not broken, just less relevant. I meant what I said, Daniel adds. If at any point tonight you wanted to leave, I would have taken you. I know, she says. That is why I stayed. They stand there, close enough to feel the presence of each other, careful not to cross the invisible line they agreed upon. Elena breaks the silence. Do you regret bringing me? He answers without hesitation. No. She nods, accepting that. And you? He asks. Do you regret saying yes? She thinks of the stares, the questions, the way she held her ground without raising her voice. No, she says. But it was not because of the money. That catches his attention. It was because, she continues, choosing her words carefully, you did not ask me to disappear. You asked me to stand beside you. Something shifts in his expression. Not relief. Something quieter. Deeper. I should take you back inside, he says eventually. Yes, she agrees. As they turn toward the lights, Elena pauses. Daniel. He looks at her. This is still a contract, she says. But it does not feel empty. He nods once. No, it does not. They walk back toward the reception together, not as performers now, but as two people who have seen something true in each other. Neither of them names it, but both of them feel the weight of it settling in, steady and unmistakable, changing the shape of everything that comes next. The fracture begins quietly. It does not come from Claire. It does not come from the bride's family. It comes from someone who has been watching all evening, measuring every interaction with interest sharpened by opportunity. During the final hour of the reception, Daniel is pulled aside by a board member who insists on a private word. Elena remains near the table, speaking with a guest she barely knows, her posture relaxed but alert. That is when the voice reaches her. So you are the reason Daniel decided to make an appearance tonight. Elena turns. A woman stands there, impeccably dressed, expression cool. She introduces herself without offering a hand. A distant relative by marriage. Someone with access. Someone with curiosity sharpened into suspicion. I was surprised, the woman continues. Daniel usually keeps his arrangements discreet. Elena meets her gaze. I am not an arrangement. The woman smiles thinly. Of course. That is not what I meant. But her eyes say otherwise. She leans in slightly, lowering her voice. I assume you were well compensated. The words are soft, polite, designed to wound without witnesses. Elena feels the familiar heat rise in her chest. She steadies herself before it shows. I am here by choice, she says evenly. The woman tilts her head. That is what they always say. Before Elena can respond, Daniel returns. What did I miss? He asks. Nothing, the woman says brightly. Just getting to know Elena. Daniel's gaze sharpens, but he lets it pass. For now. The real blow lands minutes later. A toast is announced. Glasses are raised. Laughter ripples through the crowd. Then, unexpectedly, the woman steps forward again, voice carrying just enough to draw attention, I would like to thank Daniel, she says, smiling, for reminding us that love can be found in the most practical arrangements. A ripple of confusion passes through the guests. What do you mean? Someone asks. The woman laughs lightly. Oh, I assumed everyone knew. This is not exactly a romance, is it? More of a mutual benefit situation. The silence that follows is sharp. Eyes turn, whispers ignite. Elena feels them before she hears them. Paid, hired, convenient. Daniel freezes for a fraction of a second. That fraction is enough. Elena straightens, every instinct screaming at her to walk away, to disappear before the narrative seals itself around her. She looks at Daniel. He opens his mouth, then closes it again. Not because he does not want to speak, because he is calculating, and she sees it. The pause slices deeper than any insult. Elena steps back. I think that is my cue, she says quietly. Elena? Daniel begins. She lifts a hand. Do not. The woman smiles, satisfied. Elena does not wait for permission. She turns and walks away, heels steady against the stone path. She does not run. She does not look back. Behind her, the room buzzes with speculation. Daniel stands there, the weight of every stare pressing down on him. The contract he thought gave him control now feels like a weapon pointed in the wrong direction. He realizes too late that by hesitating, even for a second, he confirmed what they wanted to believe, that Elena was never meant to stand beside him, only beneath him. And as she disappears into the night, Daniel understands with brutal clarity that the greatest cost of this arrangement has just been exacted. Not in money, but in trust. Daniel does not follow her right away. For a few seconds, he remains frozen at the table, the low murmur of the crowd pressing in from all sides. He can feel the judgment settling, solidifying into a story he no longer controls. Then he moves. Excuse me, he says clearly, voice carrying just enough to cut through the noise. He steps away from the table and turns back toward the woman who spoke. What you implied just now, Daniel says, calm but sharp, was false. Is coded. The woman blinks, surprised by the directness. Elena Morales is not here for compensation, he continues. She is not hired. She is not an accessory, and she does not owe anyone in this room an explanation. A hush falls. Conversations stall mid-sentence. Daniel's gaze sweeps the circle of onlookers. If anyone believes I would reduce another human being to a transaction for the sake of appearances, then you do not know me at all. He does not wait for a response. He turns and walks away from the reception, ignoring the stunned faces behind him. Elena is near the edge of the property when he finds her, standing beneath a row of trees, the music now a distant echo. She has removed her heels and holds them loosely at her side. Elena, Daniel calls. She does not turn. I was wrong, he says immediately. Not for bringing you here. For hesitating. She closes her eyes, breath steady. That pause told me everything. It told you I was afraid, he replies. Not of them. Of losing control. She turns then, expression unreadable. I do not need control, she says. I need respect. You have it, Daniel says without hesitation. You had it before tonight, and I failed to show it when it mattered most. Silence stretches between them. I am ending the contract, he continues. Not because of pressure, because it no longer reflects the truth. Her grip tightens around her shoes. And what truth is that? That I brought you here to stand beside me, he says. And when someone tried to push you beneath me, I did not stand fast enough. That will not happen again. She studies his face, searching for calculation. She finds none. You could have stayed inside, she says quietly. Protected your image. I chose you instead, Daniel replies. Elena exhales slowly. The night air is cool against her skin. This does not erase what happened, she says. I know, he says, but I am asking for the chance to do better, not as part of an agreement, as myself. She considers this, then nods once. Take me home, she says. Daniel inclines his head and offers his arm. This time, when she takes it, there is no contract between them, only choice. Morning comes quietly. Elena wakes to soft light filtering through the apartment windows, unfamiliar but calm. She sits up slowly, the events of the night settling into memory without the sharp edges she expected. No contract on the table, no schedule waiting to be followed, just choice. Daniel is already awake. She finds him in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, standing at the counter with 2 mugs of coffee. He looks up when she enters, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. "I did not know how you take it," he says, gesturing toward the mug. She accepts it. Black is fine. They sit across from each other, the space between them smaller than before but no less careful. "I spoke to my board this morning," Daniel says. "I made it clear that my personal life is not a performance for their comfort." Elena listens, eyes steady. "And the woman from last night," he continues, "she will not be attending future events." She nods once. "That was your choice." "Yes," he says. "It was." Silence settles, not awkward, not heavy, simply honest. "I will still cover your mother's medical bills," Daniel adds. "That was promised. Ending the contract does not change that." Elena meets his gaze. "Thank you, but I will not stay because of it." "I know," he replies. Days pass. There are no dramatic gestures, no sudden declarations. Daniel does not ask Elena to move back into a role that no longer exists. Instead, he gives her space, time, the respect he failed to show when it mattered most. Elena returns to her routine: work, visits to the clinic, evenings spent walking through her neighborhood, feeling lighter than she has in months. One afternoon, Daniel calls. "I would like to see you," he says. "If you want to." She considers it. "I do." 1. They meet not at a gala or a restaurant designed to impress, but at a quiet park near the river. They walk side by side, talking about ordinary things: books, childhood memories, mistakes that taught more than successes ever did. There is no audience. That is what makes it real. Weeks later, Daniel stands once more in front of a room full of people. This time, it is his own company event. Investors, partners, press. Elena arrives on her own terms, wearing a simple dress she chose herself. When she joins him, there is no announcement, no explanation. Someone asks, quietly, "Is this your partner?" Daniel does not hesitate. "Yes." Elena meets his eyes, searching for hesitation. There is none. The room accepts it because he does. That night, as they stand on the balcony overlooking the city, Daniel reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small box. Not a ring. Not yet. Inside is the folded contract, the one that started everything. "I kept it," he says, "to remember what not to hide behind." He tears it once, then again. The paper drifts into the night air. "I am not asking you to sign anything," he says. "I am asking you to choose me. Freely." Elena steps closer, her voice steady. "I already have." "Okay." They do not rush. They do not promise forever, in borrowed words. They choose honesty. They choose respect. They choose each other. And for the first time, there is nothing fake left to become real.